since the great boom years around the 2008 time, it's gone dreadfully flat. And we're just seeing companies going down. There's not been the people moving. World issues have been causing problems as well as the economy. So it's been bad, but at last we're beginning to see those shoots of recovery coming through. Starting in the United States, the largest market in the world with more than 50% of all business jets operating in the US, that's showing signs of recovery now. In Europe, we saw 19% of the market in there, and that growth is starting to happen in Europe as well. So that's quite exciting. It's still been very flat in places like China and India and in Latin America, but they too are beginning to turn very, very quickly. And the Middle East market has still been booming. They seem to have missed out on the bad times. Well, during the bad times, the manufacturers haven't been sitting still doing nothing, and it's rather remarkable that they've timed this absolutely perfectly. So as the market comes into recovery again, we're seeing brand new aeroplanes being delivered, meeting everything we want to see in terms of environmental use, in terms of lighter aircraft, more efficient aircraft, and they're all coming through right now, from the small light jets right the way through to the large Gulfstreams and Bombardier Globals and Challengers. One of the best ones, as far as I'm concerned, is a light jet from Honda Jet. I think they're going to make a big difference, shaking it up with a brand new aeroplane. Looks different, it's a wonderful thing, and it's going to be coming out this year. The other really exciting one in the bigger end of the market that I think is going to be great is Dassault, the French manufacturer. And we're seeing their 8X, which will be the flagship of their fleet. That's almost ready to be delivered this year. And then the 5X, which is following behind it, which we'll be seeing the next year. Got a cracking little skylight in the roof. I mean, there's amazing things happening in design these days. 60% of the new aircraft being delivered are all VVIP, large, heavy ones. They've got to go further. There's been a demand from business people to be able to get greater range and to be able to take more product with them. We're expecting to see some kind of revolution, if you like, of business aviation, almost like we saw with low-cost carriers in the airline industry, where more people find that business aviation can be accessible. As the new aircraft are being introduced to the marketplace, some of the older aircraft will become available, and we expect to see the used market start to pick up again as well. Geographically, China is the big one. That's the one everybody's waiting for. There's a lot of issues with things like visas and so on, and access to places that the Chinese are going to. But we're now seeing a Chinese industry developing. So we're going to expect to see more Chinese flying in business aviation. We've lost entry into markets like Russia and the Ukraine because of the troubles that have been happening there, and some of the other global conflicts have stopped people buying jets. They've not had the confidence. India, we've been expecting to develop a lot more over recent years. Africa, 7 of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world are in Africa. Latin America, of course, is booming as well. There's a real problem about perception for business aviation. A lot of people see it as all to do with fat cats going out on their vacations and flying off for a game of golf in their business jet, and that just doesn't happen. Even the smallest aircraft that you see are frequently being used for business use. It's an ideal business tool. It takes people that are trying to do business and develop economies and develop growth to the places they want to go to quickly, effectively, efficiently, and indeed cheaper than it is if you were flying on commercial transport and having to stay in a hotel for 2 or 3 days in order to get your meetings in. So it doesn't fly in the face of austerity. In fact, it's challenging austerity in order to bring recovery. The biggest problem for business aviation is access. Access to airports, access to airspace. We're seeing airspace becoming more and more crowded. We're seeing business aviation getting squeezed out of the major airports in the city centres. Technology is trying to solve that through the air traffic management systems, but business aviation needs an equal opportunity to be able to get into that airspace and make use of it. We're very fortunate at the moment to be standing here at Farnborough, which is the only true business aviation airport in the UK. We have Le Bourget in Paris, we have Albertine in Abu Dhabi, but there's not enough. My belief, though, is actually the problem goes further afield than that. We're losing airfields to become housing estates or in industrial warehouses because of their brownfield status. There's not enough places for business aviation to land, and yet regions that want to see industrial development need to have accessibility. wherever the investors happen to be. The aeroplanes need to be able to get there. Part of the challenge of not being able to get as close as where you want to, you can come off of your business jet and then bring the helicopter in. At airports like Biggin Hill, for example, where you can now get a very fast helicopter straight into Battersea in about 5 minutes. So people coming in from the States or from the Middle East can be in London incredibly quickly before they would have even been able to decamp at Heathrow. If we look at some of the technology that's being used on the business aircraft that then applies to the mainstream for the airlines, things like connectivity, for example, where the business people were demanding the need to be able to get access to their offices, whether it's by telephone or by emails. In the cockpit, there's been some great technology being introduced. If we look at things like synthetic vision, which allows the pilots to actually see through clouds effectively. They can see everything that you would see on the ground. That's gone from business aviation, now coming into aircraft like Boeing and Airbus that are looking at this technology. So business aviation is well worth the investment that's happening, and it does bring a general benefit to everybody.